at that level. They were coming in quite high speed. Almeida has been so good this year, and we saw already in this year's Tour de France the pulls that he did for Tadej Pogacar have really been influential and how powerful he is. So going forward, a weakened Almeida is certainly not going to be good for UAE Team Emirates, but do you think it's going to be detrimental to Tadej Pogacar keeping the yellow jersey?
I think it will be. I think this is going to be a really, really important loss for the team. Yes, they've been brilliant to this Classics opening week, but how good is Tim Weller's going to be once we get to Otakam, once we get to Superbanya, Col de la Loze, and so forth? He's great in this kind of territory. Can he be great in the mountains? High mountains, I mean. He looked good in Dauphiné, was particularly good on that stage that finished in Combloux, I think it was, or Col de Drancy, the one where Pogacar gained about a minute on Vingegaard and what seemed to be like a 5K climb. Looked great there. He's on good form, but Almeida's brilliant. He is, he's got almost squeaky clean record in stage races this year. He's won every World Tour stage race he's entered and finished second at the Undercut at Algarve, only losing anti Jonas Vingegaard.
Paris-Nice.
Oh, Paris-Nice. Sorry, my bad. But he did beat Vingegaard on the uphill on the mountain stage there at the Col de la Loge or Col de Garde, whatever it was called. That doesn't matter. Nevertheless, I think this is going to be a big loss. Adam Yates, is he going to be good enough really in the mountains? He's losing time a lot this week already. Came off a Giro in which he wasn't super convincing. Who else do they have in the mountains? Really, it's like
Pavel Sivakov.
Sivakov. True, Sivakov looks good, but is now Sivakov just going to have to be an equivalent to Matteo Jorgensen? What I thought was really important for Almeida is to have someone right up there in the GC to be a threat to Evenepoel, to be a threat to Vingegaard if those GC places become narrower. Almeida is one of the best domestiques in the world, one of the best climbers in the world. I think losing him is going to be a massive, massive loss, and the advantage now goes to Visma Lease bike. Jorgensen looks great. If Almeida's, injured coming into the mountains, that could be a time for Visma Lease bike to try to capitalize on those losses and gain back time. That Otakam stage, I mean, they probably dress rehearsed it and drilled it very, very hard. It's where they dropped Pogacar with Wout van Aert so many years ago. I think Visma could really capitalize on that stage. Maybe even we could see a bit of a taster of that on stage 10 in the Massif Central. It's a really, really tough day with lots and lots of ups and downs. It's about 4,000 meters of climbing in total. That's going to be brutal. And that could be our first test of an Almeida-less UAE Team Emirates XRG mountain train.
What do you make of, so we've had a bit of the tactics of Visma Lease bike have been strange at times, but they came into the focus of, cycling Twitter, or the media, shall we say, because Tadej Pogacar was very critical of it yesterday, saying he's been critical of their tactics before, but I mean, it's your rival, so whatever. But Jonas Vingegaard responded this morning to TV2 Denmark and said, Pogacar can think whatever he wants. We're allowed to run our tactics and they are allowed to run their tactics. It may be that we don't understand each other's tactics, but that is cycling. I mean, they've been very offensive and they have nullified a lot of the advantage that Tadej Pogacar and limited his classics racing. And I think that was good. But obviously in the time trial, it went backwards for Jonas Vingegaard in relation to Tadej Pogacar. So, I mean, Ewan, what do you make of this? And obviously, Jonas Vingegaard's wife's also been in the media. So it's been a bit of a Jonas Vingegaard media circus or Visma Lease bike media circus off the bike, unfortunately, this week for them.
Well, praises to Jonas. He is beautifully media trained these days. Maybe this is something that happened after the crash last year, but he is so much more comfortable in front of a microphone now to speak to be more honest. And I think that's great to have. Especially when you have like Remco, who's, just so blunt sometimes. And I mean, always gives a good and thoughtful interview. I think Vingegaard to now be on that level, not quite Remco's level, but, being more honest and open with the media is great to see. I know that the whole interview with Trina this week was, not going to lie, quite funny from my perspective. And in terms of like, sort of creating this war as if like, I want more time with my husband. We weren't allowed to renovate our kitchen because Jonas had to go to altitude camp. It's just so like kind of, these are real world struggles of professional cyclists. And I understand she's fed up with it. To be honest, I don't know how all the partners of pro cyclists can deal with it because they're away for so much time in the year. I spoke to Felix Gabel for the Tour de France. He told me he was at altitude in the French Alps for 3 weeks and only had 1 week at home in Austria. By and that okay, so beginning of altitude camp was start of June, goes to Tour de France start of July, competes in Tour de France until the end of July. So then he got 1 week at home with his family. What's up with that? Very, very few jobs in this world have what require such commitments. That's besides the point, Scott. You asked about the tactics. I think the tactics, it is interesting to see. Maybe we kind of jump too much into it in terms of saying, they definitely wanted Pogacar to get the jersey. When, they could have also been wanting to place time into Roglic, into Lipovic, and Enric Mas, and so forth. It's still, they're still competing with these guys for the podium. Almeida looked pretty cooked yesterday. If he wasn't so cooked, he might have been further up in the group today and avoided a crash. Things like this, where, we don't know what's said on the team bus. We only know as much as they tell us. Same with UAE. So it is kind of interesting to see this kind of war of words. We had this kind of cold war between the two at the Dauphiné, where they're playing mind games, especially after that time trial, the Dauphiné, in which Visma gained big time on Pogacar. And I think it's interesting to see that bleed into the Tour de France here. This is definitely a race of two teams, and seeing that play in the media is fascinating. Last year, we also had the extra, Roglic and Evenepoel arc of it all, but I think they faded back a little bit. Now it's all about Jonas versus Tadej. If anything, it reminds me of the 2023 Tour de France. And that was a great race.
Yeah, certainly I'm drawing with a bit of insight there into them. But I mean, looking at the stage, Wout was even a bit critical of their own tactics, which was funny because he was saying I would send in the breakaway once again. And that whole saddle outrider thing, I think they got very lucky in the Giro with that because Isaac Del Toro looking the wrong way or looking at the wrong rider, looking at Carapaz rather than. But anyway, this stage, Moto Britannia, who do you think is going to come away this left disappointed? I think Mathieu van der Poel wasn't expecting too much. I think he knew the jersey was going to go. Sad that he lost the jersey on the stage where he won the jersey for the first time in his career, but that's how cycling is. But who's kind of, well, obviously all the crashed riders, they're going to be very disappointed with this.
Yeah, I think, Almeida has to be the big loser. UAE is on. Yeah. Almeida has to be the big loser. UAE as a whole, losing someone who's so vital in that team setup going forward. Also, other riders that can be disappointed from today. Matthias Skjelmose once again losing time. There was no bike change today. He lost 20 seconds. I think Matthias Skjelmose has to be annoyed. He lost more time today, and it wasn't through a bike change. It was just through to him not being there. He doesn't have many teammates that are suited towards the mountains. They're all here for Jonathan Milan, who, by the way, has lost the green jersey today to Pogacar. Yes, that happened. So it's, all other riders to be annoyed. I mean, Carlos Rodriguez, he's been my loser this whole tour. He's just not looking very good. Winners today, Vauquelin looked great still looking really, really good. I don't know how he'll fare in the high mountains, but he's looking fantastic. I had him down to at least win a stage. Stage 10 was the one I was thinking of, but now he's too close in the GC to contend at that stage, it seems. Who's going to let him in a breakaway? But,